Hello, everybody. Welcome. It's Shadow at Night for Thursday, October the 9th, 2025. And on the show tonight, wow, Mark Carney has had an incredibly bad week, hasn't he? I mean, first that fateful trip to Washington to meet with Trump and the press conference in the afternoon. Came home with nothing. Him and his three ministers, they came home with absolutely squat, nothing, nada, zilch, goose egg. Nothing. And things have gotten worse for Mark Carney. Not directly. Well, maybe directly too, because he had a terrible day in the House of Commons after that. But his ministers keep fumbling the ball. And Poilievre is taking advantage of everything he can. As a matter of fact, it seems like, because Poilievre was holding a press conference today, right? It seems like Poilievre is gearing up for an election. I just have that vibe. There's something in the air. I'm not saying there's going to be an election. I'm not saying that at all. But what I am saying is that it feels like, not before Christmas, obviously, if there is going to be one. But we have heard some rumblings. I do have some people still in Ottawa, inside, and they say it smells funny, election-y almost. Springtime, maybe? Never know. You never know. And the polls have been showing. Now, if the polls are correct, they're showing the Conservatives up by 1, maybe 2 points. It's very tight between the Liberals and the Conservatives. The NDP are kind of coming up to where they were before, not 18 or 19%. They're around 11 or 12, leaderless. Heather McPherson has thrown her hat in the ring to be the leader of the NDP, and we're going to roast her a little bit later on in the show as well. And tonight on the extension, oh, by the way, also a South Asian truck driver, semi-truck driver in Winnipeg almost caused fatalities today. I got the video today. Not exactly sure when it's from. Could be from yesterday. But you'll see the video in just a few minutes. It's self-explanatory. And this is why Alberta has been closing down these trucking schools all across their province, because the people aren't being taught properly. And that puts other people in danger, right? Right. On the extension tonight, a bombshell, an absolute bombshell, you guys. And I haven't vetted the story completely yet. So that's why I put it in the extension tonight, but it's huge. The Alliance of Indigenous Nations in Canada has issued a declaration calling the COVID-19 vaccine, based upon evidence from accredited scientists and physicians, a bioweapon. Yeah. Now, these are First Nations that are doing this. And they're used to having whatever utterance comes out of their mouth broadcast all over the left-wing corporate media. Hasn't happened this time. The declaration came out late yesterday. I wonder why. We're going to find out very, very soon who's the stronger lobby in Canada. Is it First Nations or is it Big Pharma? So that's coming up in the extension tonight for you subscribers. All access Nighthawks on shadowdavis.com. And some good news today. We got 10 more subscribers. So that puts us up to 80. We're going to need 200 by next Wednesday, or the show is coming off social media and existing only on the website, which may be the case anyway if the Liberals pass bills C8 and C9. C2 is bifurcated now. They've released a new version of the bill without the controversial stuff. We're going to get to that in just a second. By the way, that's another loss for Mark Carney. The Shadow at Night live stream, as always, is brought to you by Canada Nano Silver, CanadaNanoSilver.com.
Silver is amazing. It has several natural health benefits, and it's been used for hundreds of years for health and healing. That's the main reason they made silverware from silver. But seriously, this nano silver from Silverceuticals is the best and safest silver you can find. There are hundreds of studies and reports on it. I've read some of the studies myself, and it's mind-blowing. One of the things that sets Silverceuticals apart is that it washes out of your body in 24 hours. No silver buildup and no turning blue. And it won't even harm the good bacteria your body needs. It's so effective they can use very small concentrations of silver, like 10 and 32 parts per million, and still outperform other silvers that have up to 3,000 parts per million. It's safer and more effective at the same time. It is an incredibly small particle that is small enough to work through your body, but big enough not to fall out of suspension. They infuse it into almost all of their products. It works in facial serums, toothpaste, gels, and even gummies that work to help your immune system.
204-808-9292. There's your telephone number if you want to get a hold of Kevin and Anna. You can also email info@CanadaNanoSilver.com. That is CanadaNanoSilver.com. So listen, the big Regina Health and Wellness Expo is coming up, not this weekend, but next weekend, and Canada Nano Silver will be there. If you want free tickets, all you have to do is email Kevin and Anna at info@CanadaNanoSilver.com and ask, hey, can I have some free tickets to the Regina Health and Wellness Show? And they'll say, yeah, sure, come and see us. You don't have to buy anything, but it would be nice. They have fantastic products. I use them all the time. Oh, and by the way, by supporting Canada Nano Silver, you are supporting this show. So thank you very much. People are saying, Shadow, you're going to make it. You're going to make it to 200 by next Wednesday. I know you're going to make it. You're going to make it. Well, we're at 80 right now, so we're not quite halfway there. And people are wondering, why are you going to take the show off social media? Because you're getting it for free. And that means you're never, ever, ever going to pay for a subscription. Even though we do a lot of really good stuff back there every single night. And the other thing is, you don't have to stay up all night long with us back there. You can watch the show whenever you want on the website, shadowdavis.com. Whenever you want. People tell me they do binges on weekends sometimes, and they'll watch all 5 episodes. And each one in its entirety is over 2 hours long every single night. So become a subscriber. And if you do, make sure you join the Telegram group, Shadow at Night Community. It's SHADOE, just like there. At Night, NITE, because I did, and Community. So Shadow at Night Community on Telegram. We'd love to see you back there. Hello, Lucette. Hello, Diane. Hello, Edna, John, Greg, Kim, Leanne. How are you? Leanne's a new subscriber. Rhonda's watching in Selkirk. Hello, Diane. Hello, Bill. And Rita is watching. She's one of the Nighthawks as well. Paul is here tonight. Paul sent me the video of that South Asian truck driver, which we're going to get to. Hello on Rumble to You Go Girl, Cosford, Esky Dogs. How do I say this? Trifia Proton Mail. That's your email address. World Peace, Riznan, Amazing Faces. Nutsy is watching in Selkirk. So wherever you're watching from, you guys, no matter what platform you're watching on, don't forget, like it and share it. Like the scroll says at the bottom of the screen, get it out there to as many people as you possibly can. Mark Carney has had a terrible week. Even though he was all elbows up during the election campaign, since then, he's been pretty much without elbows at all. He's been walking around with his arms out straight because no elbows, right? So he met with Donald Trump this week. You guys know what happened there. So here's a quick now and then of Mark Carney from earlier this year until this week.
Is very much in sync with President Trump. And someone who worships Donald Trump will kneel down before him, not stand up to him.
And if I may, you kindly hosted me and some of my colleagues a few months ago, and I said at the time, you are a transformative president. And since then, the transformation in the economy, unprecedented commitments of NATO partners to defense spending, peace from India, Pakistan through to Azerbaijan, Armenia, disabling Iran as a force of terror, and now, and I'm running out of time, but this is in many respects the most important.
The
what
merger
you created
of Canada
no,
and the
what
United
you
States.
have created.
I'm only kidding.
That wasn't where I was going.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Balls of steel, that guy. Now, some are saying, some on the Carney side of things, in the Carney camp, they're saying, well, you know what? He knows how to handle Trump. You stroke his ego publicly, and then you really roll up your sleeves behind the scenes. You really give him what for and tell him how it's going to be. Carney himself brought up the idea of bringing back the Keystone XL pipeline. That's what we're hearing. It wasn't Donald Trump. They did talk about pipelines, by the way. So, I don't know. I think Mark Carney is all against anything to do with oil and gas. But you never know. You never know. Maybe he'll be forced to capitulate because it seems his G-Fence alliance is falling apart and Europe cannot afford to be green anymore. They've got millions of problems over there, but the climate thing and this new economy they're talking about, the Green New Deal, they're going to go broke before they can ever do anything about it. You know, along with fighting Russia at the same time. Their plan is turning into a disaster, and it's absolutely beautiful, beautiful to see. Here in Canada, they're trying to put in these censorship laws and secret police type stuff, Gestapo style, right? So this was released earlier today by the Canadian Constitution Foundation. We did have this story on last night, but we've got more detail on it now. Liberals revised border bill. This is C2 following CCF pushback. Not just the CCF, but all of these freedom of speech, common sense lobby groups were in the Liberals' grill about this whole thing. And even some senators, and not conservative senators either, from what I understand. And so the Liberals decided to bifurcate. We had that on with Roman Baber last night. So Carney has separated privacy-threatening provisions from its border security bill, C2, into a new bill. It's called C12 now, following pressure from the Canadian Constitution Foundation and other advocacy groups. Splitting the bill reduces the likelihood that the constitutionally questionable parts of C2 will become law. However, the CCF is urging the government to affirm Canadians' privacy rights by formally withdrawing the original C2 border bill. We don't know if they're going to do that yet. If they do, they'll do it quietly. We'll have to dig for that information. The introduction of the new border bill, C12, came after concerted efforts by advocacy groups, including the CCF, raising concerns the original C2 would violate the constitutional rights of Canadians to be secure against unreasonable searches and seizures, which, by the way, is against the Charter of Rights and Freedoms, whatever that means these days. The new bill does not contain the 5 parts of C2 that the CCF had warned would violate the constitutional rights of Canadians to be secure against these unlawful searches. Specifically, these 5 parts do not appear in C12. Provisions in Part 16 that would enlist financial institutions in snooping. New powers in Part 4 for Canada Post to open letter mail without proper safeguards. Like what? New powers in Part 14 to allow police to demand subscriber information without warrants. New powers in Part 15 to potentially enlist electronic service providers in spying, and a ban on cash transactions over $10,000. So those parts are now gone from the bill. They're toast. We don't have to worry about those things anymore. They may try to sneak them back in. But now we have to worry about C8 and C9. Remember, we went through this last year, the year before with Trudeau, C63, and all those other bills they were trying to pass to restrict our speech. Why do we have to do this time and time again with this ridiculous Liberal government? Do they not know that all of these bills are authoritarian? How could they possibly not know this? Okay, we all know that Mark Carney is a globalist. And he is the one who created this GFONS nightmare. Remember the GFONS nightmare? That's the Global Alliance to Net Zero. Well, part of the GFONS alliance was the Global Alliance to Reduce Methane Emissions, cow farts. It's true. I'm not making that up. It's true. But Nestle has now, this is a huge company. Nestle has now exited this global alliance to reduce methane emissions. Nestle regularly reviews its membership of external organizations, and as part of this process, has decided to end its participation in the alliance, a company spokesperson told the AWP news agency, confirming a report by Reuters. The alliance, founded in December 2023 by the U.S. environmental organization Environmental Defense Fund, brings together companies like Danone, Kraft, Heinz, Starbucks. Members pledge to measure, disclose, and reduce methane emissions from their dairy supply chains. As is well known in this sector, methane is mainly produced by cow farts, as well as the storage of manure and slurry. But now, without Nestle, you can imagine that this thing is going to fall apart as well. All the others, and they say we're going to keep going with this. We're just going to do it on our own. We don't need you guys breathing down our necks, looking over our shoulders. We can do it on our own. The Conservatives want to end birthright citizenship for children of temporary residents in Canada. And sorry about that. This has been a thing for Michelle Rempel-Garner for the past week or so. She's the immigration critic, and Polyev did a press conference today.
Well, Sean Fraser, can you imagine? This guy is a human wrecking ball. Like, seriously, he was the Minister of Immigration that destroyed he destroyed the best immigration system in the world. Look at the graph. This was our immigration rate all along until someone named Sean Fraser came along and increased our population growth by 300% almost overnight. He single-handedly destroyed the consensus we had on immigration. He destroyed our housing market, our health care, and our job market. This one guy, and Mark Carney has promoted him now to be the Minister of Justice. So for him to lecture anybody on any matters of immigration is the height of liberal hypocrisy and shows nothing has changed after 10 years of the Trudeau government to the Carney one. Now, on birthright citizenship, we've got, because of Mark Carney's former immigration minister, Sean Fraser, we have roughly, 3 million temporary residents here in Canada. And the risk is that some might think that the only way to stay is by having a kid here. And at the end of the day, our system is already overrun. Our health care, our housing cannot afford to do that. And so what Ms. Rempel is saying is that for everyone who is an immigrant to Canada as a permanent resident or a citizen, of course they can pass on citizenship to their kids. But if you're coming here as a visitor and neither parent has an attachment to Canada as a permanent resident or citizen, they can't pass citizenship down the line. I think that is a perfectly common sense approach. We have to get rid of the liberal insanity in our immigration system and return to the best system in the world.
Haven't seen any left-wing corporate media reporting on this extensively yet, but you can bet that they'll take the illegal immigrant side on this, or the temporary foreign workers or the temporary students or whatever they're called these days. You can bet they will. Look what's going on in the United States right now. You've got governors of states who are willing to stand in front of groups of illegal aliens, which, by the way, being in the country down there, anywhere actually, being in the country illegally is illegal. I'm sorry, but that's what it is. It's illegal. And you've got guys like Pritzker in Illinois and Newsom in California. Trump is... What the hell? Barack Obama deported more immigrants, illegal immigrants, than any other president in the history of the United States. Nobody's saying anything about that, are they? So I would imagine the left-wing corporate media here in Canada is going to try and take a piece out of the Conservative Party for this stance. But the polls are against them. 70 to 80% of all Canadians think that there's just too much immigration going on in this country right now. And it all seems to be coming from the same place. So Conservatives do want to end birthright citizenship for children of temporary residents. The Conservatives are calling for this new limit on birthright citizenship, a measure they say would mirror the rules in peer countries and curb the risk of abuse on the immigration system. And absolutely makes sense. It's a common sense idea. But again, you never know what's going to happen. I mean, these neo-Marxist politicians in Canada are still slinging around the term Islamophobia based upon another story that we're going to tell you about in just a few minutes. So, committee today. Frank Caputo, who is a Conservative MP, was grilling our Minister of Public Safety, Gary Kruger, today, asking him, where are the criminals? Where are the criminals at? And the immigrant criminals. And this is what happened.
600 foreign nationals were set to be deported. 70% of them committed violent crimes, including sex assaults. Where are they?
Thank you, Mr. Caputo. Thank you for that question. As you're aware, the Canada Border Services Agency is tasked with removals of those who are deemed to be
Minister, I'm sorry, we don't need a preamble. We just need an answer. Where are the 600 people who were set to be deported? Maybe I'll ask this way. Do you know where they are? Yes or no?
Mr. Chair, if I may respond to this question in whole. So, as you're aware, the CBSA is tasked with the removal of those who are inadmissible to Canada. In this particular case, we have been ensuring that removals have been taking place at an unprecedented rate.
I asked about the 600 people, Minister. I didn't ask about removals at an unprecedented rate. Do you know where they are? Yes or no?
Well, there is a set of
I'll take that as a no, Minister. Let's move on.
Let's be clear, Mr. Caputo. There are a number of individuals who are in the process of being removed. So of the 600 you talk about, there is a breakdown, and I'd like to invite Ms. Gorman to
You are the
respond
Minister.
to this.
You are the
Answer
expert.
the question,
Globe and
man.
Mail reported 600 people are missing. You're the Minister. You're expected to know this. The buck stops with you. We have 6 minutes. You don't know. Let's move on.
I mean, of all the incompetent ministers that were part of the Trudeau regime and now part of the Carney regime, this guy, you know what? I was about to say that he's probably the most incompetent out of them all. But over the years, there have been some really bad ones. But more annoying than incompetent, right? And I'm sure that these people, these Marxists, the neo-Marxists like Chrystia Freeland and Climate Barbie, all of those ministers over the years were probably good at what they did. They just believed in completely the wrong things. But this guy should be wearing a clown suit. Like every time he comes in the room, there should be a guy with a smartphone who pushes a button and the music starts. Or maybe he should just come out of a Volkswagen again and again and again. Because he is a clown. This guy does not know what he's doing. His appointment must have been a favor to a lobbying group by Mark Carney. It must have been. Because he is the biggest buffoon that I believe we've seen in cabinet in the last 10 years. And that's saying a lot. Can't even pronounce his last name. Angsangari, something like that. So I asked Google AI today, what about the East Indian takeover of the trucking industry? Because they have been, in fairness, taking over a lot of the industries in Canada, the service industry, for example. You try to go to any mini mart in this country and find a white person working there. Good luck to you, I say. And I thought the same thing was going on with the trucking industry, right? So I asked, and they said, well, there isn't an East Indian takeover of the trucking industry, but South Asians and drivers of Indian origin, they corrected me when I said East Indian. No, you can't say that anymore. Drivers of Indian origin are a significant and growing part of the trucking workforce in Canada and the United States. In Canada, nearly 1 in 4 truck drivers is of South Asian origin, and many are involved in the industry in the United States, where the community is concerned about backlash following incidents like a fatal crash in Florida led to scrutiny of foreign drivers and a temporary visa pause by the Trump administration. And in Alberta, 5 truck driver training schools and 13 trucking companies have been shut down. We gave you that story the other night. And the reason is because, well, they're scams. They're not teaching these people properly, if at all. So having said that, our friend Paul sent me this earlier this afternoon. And I thought, what is this? What is this? And you got to watch it all the way to the end, this video here. This is just a reel that was captured on Instagram. I think it's recent. I think it's from the last couple of days. I looked around and checked. So Route 90 in the city of Winnipeg, in case you're unfamiliar with it, very, very busy thoroughfare. with a speed limit anywhere between 80 and 90, depending on what section you're at. Yes, there are lights, but there are long stretches of that highway that are highway. Away you go. At one of the intersections along this busy route, a truck just kind of rolled into the intersection. Having set this up for you, I'll warn you now that there is a significant amount of cursing in this video because the video was taken by a guy who was on the road watching this thing happen, and he couldn't believe his eyes. Here you go.
Nobody in this truck. There's legit nobody in this fucking truck. This guy's truck just rolled into the middle of into Route 90. It literally just rolled onto Route 90. It went behind that fucking sign and rolled straight through. Look at this. Buddy, is that your truck? No? Oh, it's his truck. Look at him. Look at him. No? Oh, it's his truck. Look at him. Look at him.
Now watch this.
Holy fuck, you could have killed someone. And it's locked.
This is what happens when you put insufficiently trained drivers in large vehicles. Have you ever tried to drive one of those things? During my years in radio, I had the opportunity to do a lot of things I never would have done. It was stunt mostly. I bungee jumped once from 200 feet. I parasailed. I spent 48 hours in a tank full of water. I spent 48 hours under ice, all to raise money for good causes. And there was one time where I got to drive a truck, a big 18-wheeler. It's not easy. It's not easy. So when we're driving down the highway and we're trying to pass one of these trucks and one of the trucks is trying to pass another truck, just give them a wide berth and wait 5 minutes. Give them some time because they're on cruise control. These guys have been driving in some cases for 7, 8 straight hours. They're tired. I'm not making excuses. I'm simply saying we got to treat them with respect on the highway, and hopefully they'll do the same with us. But when it comes to this guy, he should never be allowed to get in the cab of a truck ever again. He is obviously not ready to be operating a vehicle like that on his own. He forgot to turn the emergency brake. Put the brakes on, buddy. That thing went rolling without a driver. That thing went rolling right out into a busy highway. Now, if it was against a light, there would have been dead people everywhere. Guy's not ready. And these schools are mostly run by people of South Asian origin. And they're scams. They are scams. Diploma mills. And they have to be stopped. More scamming, more corruption at very deep levels in Canada. Pressure mounting. This is from the Bureau, Sam Cooper's thing on Substack. Pressure mounting for release of long-buried PEI report on Buddhist land transactions amid broader calls for a federal inquiry. There was a press conference yesterday on Parliament Hill. Nobody attended. And if they did, they certainly didn't talk about it in their newscasts. But here's what Sam had to say yesterday.
I'm happy to be here today, and what I want to drive home very briefly is I think the citizens of North America and the Western world now need to recognize the pattern recognition that reporting from myself, reporting on this excellent new book, and others, including reporting in the United States, is revealing to citizens that have had little idea of how extensive and pervasive the Chinese Communist Party's operations are, targeting North America and, alarmingly, Canada's smallest province. I'm here today because at the Bureau.news I have published a number of op-eds from Gary Clement and also Dean focused on their research in PEI. Before that, I worked with Gary and Dean to publish my book, Willful Blindness, in 2021. It was very much focused on my own discovery of Chinese organized crime, underground banking, and the Chinese Communist Party through the United Front, and how a flood of shady money had washed into Canada's west coast and Vancouver and essentially captured major portions of the economy. I was focused on urban landscapes. My colleagues are focused mostly on rural landscapes. And let me say the patterns they have revealed in PEI are much the same as have been revealed in Oklahoma, Maine, across the United States, where we now hear in congressional testimonies the Chinese Communist Party and their Chinese crime networks have bought massive amounts of farmland near critical infrastructure and leveraged it into organized crime marijuana operations that are consistent with not only running weed money, but fentanyl money, human trafficking. All kinds of money is being laundered through American land, and the American government is now starting to take that seriously. As my colleagues have indicated, not yet has the Canadian government or the PEI government taken it seriously. So there's a bigger picture here, and also at the Bureau, I've been reporting.
Now, the guy behind him there with the glasses, that's Wayne Easter. He's a Liberal MP. If he's standing up for this, maybe we'll get something done finally. I mean, I doubt it. I know that sounds like wishful thinking. I wish it wasn't. But I guess it says something that there's a Liberal MP standing behind Sam here. That's also Kevin Vong, the other guy behind. He's an independent MP from the Toronto area.
In the theme of pattern recognition, that the UK government is now undergoing a scandal in which it appears Labour leader Keir Starmer and his government have suppressed the flagship, the largest espionage case ever focusing on China, targeting their own parliament, in which Conservative MPs were allegedly targeted for information collection from Chinese threat networks. The case was cancelled. We're reading more and more about it in UK's media. And what I want to say is I recognized it seems almost the exact same story that I exposed at Global News, the targeting of Canada's parliament, in which Justin Trudeau's government apparently pressed down on reporting from Canadian intelligence that was pointing most alarmingly to China's attacks of Conservative MPs, gathering information on MPs such as Michael Chan, and supporting more friendly MPs from other parties.
Now, I'll tell you what, they say, and have been saying for years, since 2007 at the very least. And you can go and search for stories on Chinese infiltration into Canadian politics. And you can go back at least that far, maybe further, if you're so inclined. This has been going on for an incredibly long time with not just federal politicians, as Sam points out, but also provincial politicians. I, for one, and civic. I, for one, want to see David Eby investigated. He should be under suspicion of being compromised by Chinese foreign nationals, maybe the Chinese government themselves or triads, because that guy's dirty. He's dirty, in my opinion. So here's part of the story from Sam Cooper on the Bureau at Substack. You can read the rest yourself. You can go find him there. The author of a new book, Canada Under Siege, alleged that a religious group linked to the Chinese Communist Party has been involved in a pattern of suspicious land transactions across PEI, Canada's smallest province, which they say is increasingly a flashpoint for questions about national security, land control, and transparency. The authors, former RCMP Superintendent Gary Clement and publisher Dean Baxendale are pressing for the release of an investigative report they believe was suppressed and for a new provincial probe commissioned this year to show concrete progress. Provincial probe. Why do we always fall for that stuff? That's like saying, okay, you guys go investigate yourselves. Come back to us in a couple of years. Yeah, I investigated myself. Didn't find a thing. No, we need independent investigators in their business, all up in their grills, everywhere. Access to computers, access to files, access to phone records, banks, everything. Independent of anybody. As scrutiny from the authors and from media, including CBC and the Bureau, has increased this year, really? Really, Sam? The long-sought 2018 land investigation report at the center of the controversy, prepared by the Island Regulatory and Appeals Commission, may finally surface after a legislative standing committee issued a subpoena for the document. The report, which examined land holdings on PEI, including those of several Buddhist-affiliated entities, was never released publicly by the regulatory body. Okay, Heather McPherson. She's an MP, an NDP MP. I think she's from Alberta, if I'm not mistaken. Either that or BC. And she's running for the leadership of the NDP, by the way. I think she's the only one in the running so far. I'm surprised that, well, maybe not now, because the NDP got so decimated in the last election. But I thought Wab Kinew, the Premier of Manitoba, was going to throw his hat in the ring. He's a surefire winner if he does decide to run. And then he might strengthen the NDP back to where they should be, like around 22 or 23 points, which would weaken the Liberals. But anyway, Heather McPherson said on X today, a Markham man was beaten, his skull broken, and eye socket smashed because of hate. Really? You know this for a fact, Heather? My heart is broken for his family, but the words of politicians are not enough. The government must take clear and immediate action to stop the rise of Islamophobia and other forms of hate in Canada. How about Antifa? That'd be a good start. So let's investigate this story a little bit here, even from left-wing corporate media. Maybe they slipped up and actually named the accused here. Toronto man charged in alleged hate-motivated assault of Markham hotel employee. So this is the story, all right. A man has been charged in an alleged hate-motivated violent assault on a hotel employee in Markham. I don't know why they would allege hate. Who's alleging hate? Is it you, media? Is it police saying that? Who's alleging hate here? Because it sure seems to be overused quite a bit lately. York police say they were called to a hotel in the Highway 7 East and Commerce Valley Drive West area just after 3 a.m. September 28th. An employee had reported that an intoxicated guest had become aggressive. Intoxicated. You think that might have anything to do with it? It's alleged the suspect was attempting to pay for his room when his credit card was denied. A verbal altercation ensued, and the suspect's demeanor allegedly changed when he learned the hotel employee was Muslim. Allegedly. The suspect became upset, allegedly told the victim he was going to kill him, and chased him to a room where the victim was violently assaulted. When police arrived, they located the 54-year-old employee who was taken to hospital with serious head injuries. The suspect was arrested nearby. Geethansan Suranjan, 31, of Toronto, was facing charges of assault causing bodily harm and uttering threats. The investigation is still ongoing. Boy, I wonder if Geethansan Suranjan, 31, of Toronto, is a recent migrant to our country. I'm just alleging, because that's all police and left-wing corporate media seem to be able to do these days. Hate! Now, how do they know that? Did the guy with the broken eye socket and the broken head tell them that? He's awake now? Yeah, it's because I was Muslim. And just because you say so, is there audio tape? Is there anything? Why is that even part of the story if you haven't got the records? Because they're driving a narrative of hate, of Islamophobia. And politicians just jump right on that crap. Needs to stop. Supreme Court of Nova Scotia grants group of doctors and patients the right to challenge health privacy law. Well, I didn't even know this was a thing, but I guess Nova Scotia is turning into a very, very communist province, with the forest ban and all that. The JCCF announces that the Supreme Court of Nova Scotia has granted public interest standing to a group of physicians and patients represented by lawyers funded through the Justice Centre in a major constitutional challenge to the province's Personal Health Information Act. The ruling allows the applicants to proceed with their charter challenge of recent amendments that force doctors, listen to this, that force doctors and other healthcare providers to disclose patients' private medical information to government officials without consent. What? The amendments introduced last year through the province's Financial Measures Act authorized the Minister of Health and Wellness to obtain identifiable medical records for three broad purposes: planning and managing the healthcare system, allocating resources, and creating or maintaining electronic health record programs. The government plans to build a centralized electronic database containing the personal medical histories of all Nova Scotians. My friends, this is the beginning of the digital ID in Canada. It's going to be rolled out provincially. I've been reading into this the last week or so, ever since the big UK thing with Keir Starmer. And there are some provinces that already have it available, but it's voluntary. It's not flying off the shelves like they thought it would. Some provinces don't have it at all yet. And if it doesn't work with provincial rollouts in the next 12 to 18 months, you can bet that Mark Carney will definitely try and impose some kind of federal digital ID on all Canadians. If they want to work, you'll have to have it. Do not let that happen. That is the beginning of the end. Right there, full stop, the beginning of the end. Letitia James. Remember that name? Does that name sound familiar to you? She's the New York Attorney General who indicted Donald Trump on, what was it? Bank fraud? Something like that. So James herself has been criminally indicted as of today. It happened this afternoon. X was jumping up and down. Letitia James has been indicted. Holy crap. So here's Letitia James as she was prosecuting Donald Trump. She made her name on prosecuting Donald Trump. So here she is, and then there's a report following in this clip.
My mission is clear. I'm focused. I'm prepared. I'm ready. I've been trained by the best. I went to Howard University. That overturned legal segregation in this country. I've been taught in those classrooms where Thurgood Marshall once taught. I'm not afraid of no president. Donald Trump, we're ready for you. We're coming for you. We're standing up for you. We're fighting on. We're not going down silent. Victory, my friends, is clear. It's now. And I'm not waiting 4 years. I'm waiting 2 until a speaker by the name of Hakeem Jeffries comes to bring us some rest.
Oh, by the way, Hakeem Jeffries in the last couple of weeks has gone down as one of the biggest buffoons in American political history for defending criminals in the streets. It's amazing to me, like the stupidity and the disconnects that are going on in their brains, that they're actually defending criminals in the streets and encouraging Antifa and others to impede ICE so badly that Donald Trump has had to deploy National Guards of different states into places like Illinois and Oregon and even California maybe to settle these asshats down. But let's continue on with Letitia here.
Come saved this democracy before. We'll save it now. Let's go.
What is she even talking about?
Attorney General Letitia James was indicted Thursday in Alexandria, Virginia, as President Donald Trump's Justice Department continues to pursue charges against his political opponents. Two sources familiar with the matter told CNN. James had been under investigation since May over a 2023 mortgage she took out to help her niece buy a home in Norfolk, Virginia. The charges come as Trump continues to call for his enemies to be prosecuted in court. Former FBI director, we'll have to do some real-time editing here, as we often do with the mainstream media.
This guy's funny.
Let's see. These charges come as Trump continues to call for not his enemies, criminals. Well, what else can we say?
Alleged criminals.
Criminal Democrat scum. Maybe that would be a better descriptor. They're not Trump's enemies. They're enemies of humanity. They're enemies of America. They're enemies of the rule of law, and they're getting what's coming to them. So she makes her entire political existence, dependent on, there's a statue of her honoring her in New York City. She makes her entire political career on going after Donald Trump despite not having anything to charge him with, rigs the system, gets a biased jury, a biased judge, completely manipulates the actual law as it stands to get something on him. This is a political witch hunt, and I believe she should be ashamed of herself, Trump testified. You believe this political hack back there, and that's unfortunate. Completely absurd. Now I've got videos, maybe I'll go to them today, where, really all they got out of that was the ability of deceitful people to tell morons that Trump was a convicted felon. That's what they got out of it, is that they get to say, well, but Trump's a convicted felon, and they rely on the lack of information of your average American to think that that's true, when in reality it was all a giant con game, as was obvious to anybody who paid even a little bit of attention. So that's fantastic news. That's very good news. It's like the very least you could charge her with, but it's something, and we're moving forward, and we're moving in that direction.
All right, so to me it sounds a little bit like revenge. Wow, a lot like revenge, actually. But as long as we're on the revenge train here, and I have worries that this is going to continue because our side is not going to be in power forever, right? And so what happens the next time a Biden-style regime takes over? Gavin Newsom. Or maybe one of these days, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. One of them. What would happen then? So at some point, the Democrats, like the radical ones, are going to have to sit down with the level-headed ones. And there are a few, believe it or not, who are centrists. And they're going to have to be told, shut the fuck up. Sit down and shut up. We're not a Marxist country anymore. And then they're going to have to make a deal with Republicans. And the deal is going to have to be, look, if you guys are going to go arresting us, then we're going to have to go arrest you. And then it just escalates. And every term, it gets worse and worse and worse and worse. But as long as we're doing this, who would you like to see arrested next on the other side? For me, it would have to be Adam Schiff. I can't stand that guy. And I'd like to see him behind bars. Who knows? Maybe it'll happen. So in the extension tonight, bombshell dropped today. And the reason that I can't do this extensively on this part of the show is because there's a lot of stuff that remains unvetted. So we're going to have to look into this. But guys, the Alliance of Indigenous Nations, the AIN, International Tribunal, has declared, based upon evidence found, that the COVID-19 vaccines, they say, are a bioweapon. They made this declaration late yesterday, and there it is. I mean, you saw it right there up on your screen for a couple of seconds. So we've got some video on that. We're going to go through that entire thing. And then one of the doctors that they're going with in this declaration was in that Jesse Ventura conspiracy theory show like 15 or 20 years ago. Apparently, she has known all about this for a very long time. So we're going to run that episode in the extension tonight. And we also have an interview with, let me see here, lawyer Lisa and Dr. Joseph Sansone. So that's coming up in the extension, all about this vaccine thing. And if this gets any traction, this could be a game changer. I doubt it. I doubt the media is going to cover this, but you never know, because remember, it is coming from First Nations folks. So we'll see which lobby is stronger in this country. That is it for the show tonight. Do not forget to become a member, an all-access member at shadowdavis.com, and we'll see you in the extension in just a couple of minutes. And also, don't forget to join the Telegram group, Shadow at Night Community on Telegram. We'll see you there in 2 minutes. For the rest of you, I love you all. I appreciate you all. And I will see you tomorrow night at 8 o'clock Central for another episode. Have a great night and a great day tomorrow. Bye for now.